And I'll start them. If we have some viewers, yay. Okay. Okay, welcome. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but let's get into this. So welcome everyone to Grad Chat by PhD Balance, where we'll be talking about topics of grad school beyond academic research. And these may be more topics that are difficult to talk about in your day-to-day lives. Today, I'm your host, Aidan. I'm the digital media coordinator for PhD Balance. I'm doing my PhD in geological sciences at the University of Saskatchewan. And so before going any further, I would like to pay respect and acknowledge that I occupy Treaty 6 territory, a traditional meeting grounds, gathering place, and traveling route to the Cree, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Métis, Dene, and Nakota Sioux nations. Now, if you like what you see here today, check out the PhD Balance YouTube channel for more grad chats, and don't forget to subscribe for notifications about when we go live next. Our topic today is finding your voice in a large collaboration, and I'm excited to welcome our guest, Ben. He uses the pronouns he, him. Ben is a physics PhD candidate at Carleton University in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, a fellow Canadian today. He works on the ATLAS experiment and international collaboration with about 5,000 members worldwide. So welcome, Ben. I'm super excited to have you here today.
Thank you for the introduction. I'm really excited to be here. It's going to be great. And before we continue, also thank you for the introduction. I am in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, and I would also like to acknowledge that this is the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people, who have lived here on this land since time immemorial. Sorry, and so really happy to be here.
Awesome. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you do, what the ATLAS experiment is, how it works? I'm not a physics person at all, so try to dumb it down a little so that I can understand.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is not a particle physics podcast, but I got to give at least a little particle physics introduction.
Absolutely.
So I work on the ATLAS experiment, or people often say ATLAS experiment or ATLAS collaboration, because really there's like the physical ATLAS experiment itself, which is a particle physics detector located at CERN, which is near Geneva, Switzerland. And CERN is famous for, among other things, housing the Large Hadron Collider, the biggest particle accelerator in the world. And so what it does is it smashes protons into each other, and then they collide at the center of our detector, the ATLAS detector, among other experiments as well. And then those collisions create a whole bunch of different particles, almost like mini explosions that shoot off, not dangerous explosions though, just really tiny minuscule ones, create all sorts of different particles, basically all the fundamental particles that exist in the universe. And then we are able to measure those particles, effectively like looking at them with a really big microscope. And then we can measure the properties of these particles and understand what's going on with the fundamental universe and how the universe at the smallest level works. But then also we are a collaboration. We are a group of 5,000 people all around the world. And that is another really important aspect of it. It's really a huge team, everybody working on different subgroups, different subsystems of analyses and detectors, and just improving the experiment as a whole, improving each other's livelihood as a whole. So it's really not just the experiment. The people are really what make it as well.
Wow. I can't imagine a group that big, and we will definitely be getting into that. I did have a question about the ATLAS experiment and like the accelerator as a whole. Does that have any relation or any similarities to like the Canadian light source that we have in Saskatoon?
Yeah, definitely. So they all fall under like a class of accelerators.
Oh, okay.
Right. So accelerators just means that you are speeding up particles very quickly in order to do something, be that research. Well, it all started off as research, but you can use, well, for the light source, they are accelerating photons, the particles of light, for research purposes, but also for other like medical purposes, to create particles for like for cancer, radiation therapy and chemotherapy and that sort of thing. So there's many different applications of it. So yeah, certainly
Okay,
they are
cool.
all different types of accelerators. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that was kind of just a little personal antidote here because I know a lot of people at our university do stuff at the CLS. So you mentioned 5,000 people worldwide. That's like a very, very large number. How do you feel about the similarities and differences between working in these really large collaborations or research groups of different sizes? And also, as an add-on to that, have you been part of just a small group before, and how can you compare those two?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, so maybe just to say a little bit about my experiences first. Then I've been really lucky to have different research experiences through my undergraduate career and master's and now PhD on all of these different scales that you mentioned. So, for example, my master's research was in not particle physics, but soft matter physics, so like materials physics, working with polymers and that sort of thing. And that was I would say it's the largest small group that you can get. It was one supervisor and then a group of 10 or so graduate and undergraduate students who all worked together. And then I had undergraduate research for my thesis, for example, which was basically just like me and my supervisor and then his postdoc working together. So just like three of us. And then during my undergrad, I worked on a few particle physics experiments through co-op terms. The main one being an experiment called Snow Plus, which is located at Snow Lab, an underground physics lab in Sudbury, Ontario. And that is also an international collaboration, but it's about an order of magnitude smaller than Atlas. So about on the order of hundreds of people. I think right now the collaboration is about 200 or so people. So I've been really lucky to have the opportunity to work in all of these different sizes of research labs or collaborations. And so, yeah, that's really allowed me to think about that as well and try and compare some of the similarities and the advantages and disadvantages of each of those different sizes. So the important thing that I would say is similar between all of those is that as a student, you have a supervisor, right? You cannot be a student without having a supervisor. And ideally, you still have, oh yeah, we have an awesome visitor in the background. Oh, hello.
Oh, hello. It's my co-host today, Anoka.
Awesome. Hi, Anoka. Yeah, so we all have supervisors as students, and so it does not work out ideally for everybody, but in an ideal situation you still have a really good relationship with your supervisor that you feel comfortable chatting with them one-on-one or with in a group. Maybe as your group gets larger, your supervisor might have 10 other grad students to also supervise, but you still want to have that strong connection. So to me, that's like the fundamental base. That's the same of all of these different sizes. Even in my collaboration of Atlas, where I work, I still have weekly one-on-one meetings with my supervisor, even though she in fact lives full-time at CERN right now. Because she's involved in the management of the experiment. So that is like one base thing that should always be true, or at least if that's important to you. To compare with larger collaborations, you can actually, if it works better for you, set it up such that your supervisor sort of just is the person who helps you get your foot into the door to meet other people. And then you sort of end up getting supervised by a few different people based on the different analysis project that you are working on. So that often becomes an option, which I would just consider a positive, because you can take that to branch out to have sort of multiple different unofficial supervisors if you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of different ways that a supervisor can act, whether it's, directly involved or maybe they're more as a mentor to push you through. So I think that's a really great comparison. I guess probably in your undergrad and masters, you probably had more on-hand experience with your with your supervisor directly, maybe in the field doing experiments with you? How does that compare with your supervisor now that she has probably several people below her as students?
Yes, and so that's a really good point. My supervisor is fantastic. I really enjoy working with her and get along very well. But first, I mean, I should mention her name is Dr. Manuela Vinctor. And so she is actually the deputy spokesperson of Atlas. So basically second in charge on the management scale. So she, because of her position, doesn't do day-to-day research as much anymore. I mean, she would of course like to, but she is involved in managing the whole experiment. So when we meet, I am more updating her, and she still has excellent insight, and so we go back and forth, and she gives really good tips on how to improve. But she's not directly involved with my research, right? Like she's not helping out with the coding or things like that. Whereas when I was doing my master's, doing much more local research projects, then my if I was in the lab building a little polymer physics experiment, and I would be, I don't know, messing around with some sort of tabletop device and maybe struggling a bit, and my supervisor would just come in and be like, hey, what's going on, what you working on, like what you doing right now today? And I'm like, oh, I can't get this thing to work. I said, come hold on, I've got an idea. And I'll just like go to a friend's lab and like find this, I mean, he's a genius at that sort of thing. My master supervisor was Dr. Kari Dalnaki-Vares, gotta acknowledge him as well. And so then we would just work on building something together for half an hour. So that aspect is awesome, and it comes with being in a small group. But however, you don't necessarily lose that when you're in a large collaboration. My situation just happens to be like that because of my supervisor's role. But one thing that comes along with large collaborations is that you build local groups wherever you are, right? So maybe at your university, you probably have a team of, I don't know, 5, 10, 20 even people that all work on, let's say, the Atlas experiment in my case. And you don't necessarily even work on the same thing within the experiment, but you still have group meetings, and then you even have smaller groups where maybe you have 5 of you, where there are 1 or 2 professors involved, and then you are still building smaller things that contribute to the large experiment. So that it allows you that flexibility to still have that smaller aspect, or try and take the more zoomed out aspect where you're connecting with like this multiple supervisor approach from anywhere in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really great point, that just because it's a large collaboration doesn't mean that you have to be part of that huge 5,000 people. You're contributing a specific thing to that. But with that, you obviously want to try and connect with as many people as possible within this collaboration. But how do you meet or network with such a massive group of people in these large collaborations?
Yeah, great question. So that is one. It is when you come in as a new student and you are like, all right, you are now officially a member of this 5,000 person collaboration. I don't know how anybody cannot be overwhelmed by that, and like, and like you just feel really small all of a sudden, and like, right, like that's certainly how I felt, right? You're like, how do I? No one's going to know who I am. How do I get noticed, right? Nobody's going to care about what I'm doing, and so that's when having these small groups really help, right? Because now you feel like you're in this smaller research environment again, getting day-to-day updates, working with people, and you feel like you're contributing more. But then it is still important to try and take advantage of the benefits that come from being in a large collaboration, because you certainly want to get that level of comfort, and starting out small is a great way to do it. But being in the larger collaboration means that, okay, there's no way you're going to be friends with everybody in the collaboration, right? You can't possibly meet them all. It's 5,000 people, right? There's no way.
Exactly.
Right? You can't even meet a fraction of those people. Whereas, if you're in a research group of 10 or 20 people, hopefully you'd be able to consider, after a few months of working, you'd be able to consider all those people your friends, right?
Yeah.
So of course that's never going to happen in Atlas, but everybody is still your colleague. So you have all of these colleagues who you're still working together for the same overarching goal. And so that means that everybody is automatically more willing, or at least they should be in an ideal case, and so certainly from my experience this has been true, that everybody is already more willing to help and to meet and to just chat, because even if that's not in their persona to be like a mentor or maybe a more senior person, they wouldn't normally do that. They want to go out of their way to do that because it benefits the experiment as a whole. It benefits their own work, and we are all working as a team. So it really opens you up to a network of like 5,000 collaborators who you can just reach out to and meet and have chats about just even like, what do I do from here? What do I do after my PhD? Can you tell me about how you went from your PhD to a postdoc to getting your position in Atlas? Or can you tell me about how some of your students have gone from a PhD to then working in industry or things like that, right? So it really opens up this big network for you. It's really good to take advantage of. However, I mean, even it's not like it's just so easy to just still like cold call somebody, cold email somebody, even in your own collaboration that you don't know, right? It's still scary to do that, even though you get that little extra step. It's still emailing somebody you don't know, and that's all you can really do as a first step, or at least seemingly. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I found those responses on the poll on our Twitter page yesterday really interesting, how there was that really large amount of people who were comfortable with just emailing anyone worldwide. But most, I'd say majority, definitely aren't comfortable with that. And there is still that anxiety around that. And I think being able to say you go to a conference and you mentioned the Atlas project, if you meet someone who also has that under their belt and maybe doing a similar project, or have those people that they know also involved in Atlas, that's a really great conversation starter, a great way to just connect on such a high level and be able to just talk about that. But I guess like with people getting involved in these really large collaborations, you get this PhD position, you maybe move, or you get started in the lab group. What type of resources are there for students who may be completely new to being in such a large collaboration, besides, just the 5 to 10 other people that they're working with every day? What type of resources are there to get you maybe more involved with the larger collaboration in itself?
Yeah. Excellent question. I will say also, first of all, you mentioned the polls. I was really interested in the fact that people, I've got them open right now, and that many people said that they work in small groups, right? That was the majority, and only 2% of people worked in a group or a collaboration over 100 people in size. But yet somehow 16% of people were comfortable emailing anybody in the world for I'm like, wow, like that's amazing.
Yeah.
Good for you. And like, who are these people that you're like, that means you're just like reaching out to totally random, because the numbers don't correlate, right?
Yeah.
So that means you must be reaching out to people outside of your group. Like, wow, like good for you. That's awesome. Yeah. I was like, I'm really impressed by that.
I think I'm one of the people who said I would be comfortable with reaching out to kind of anybody. My reasoning to that is that that person I'm reaching out to probably doesn't know who I am. They have no prejudgment towards me. It's the same with giving a conference talk. I'm much more comfortable giving a conference talk in a group of 200 people than I am giving one to like my lab group, where they can like have these little judgments and critiques and stuff. I know that there's people on their phone in the conference room when there's 200 people. So that's where I'm coming from. And I wonder if maybe that's the same. But anyway, that's off track. So what type of resources are there for students that come to these larger collaborations?
Yeah. Sorry, I threw us off track.
No, it's fine.
I wanted to touch on that. I found that really cool. Okay. So first of all, my really just basic, simple tip is that you should read your emails. And it's just like a first really easy, low barrier, like an email. As grad students, we get so many emails, right? We're flooded with getting automatically signed up for a whole bunch of different things, universities, societies, clubs, things specifically associated with your research, right? And then same thing, and then when you're in a larger collaboration like Atlas, then you get automatically signed up for all these sort of like subgroup emails on like different analyses that maybe you work on. And then you're encouraged to join more email lists, stay updated. And okay, it gets really overwhelming because you wake up every morning and like for me, everything is based around CERN time, so Central European time, because that's where CERN is. And so when I wake up in the morning, I've got like 30 emails because everything starts coming in the morning in that time zone. But I think it's important to just, grab your morning cup of coffee or tea or water or whatever, and just take that time to sort of ignore everything else and just open all of your emails and scroll through them. Sure, some are spam, you can just delete right away. But you want to be aware of what's going on in your collaboration at your university. I mean, just as an aside, like reading your email from my own university, they send out like weekly grad updates, weekly emails, right? And so this is like not even associated with the collaboration thing. But I found out that my university was giving out $500 as a bursary to everybody who had purchased something because of COVID to work from home, right? Necessary things to buy. So I spent like $300 on this ergonomic chair because I knew I would be working sitting on my butt every day, right? For 8+ hours working at my desk here. And I wouldn't have bought such a nice chair if I wasn't doing that. And I also got the most upgraded internet. I saw in the email there was a bursary you could apply for to get $500. I applied for it, said I spent this money on these two things specifically because of COVID, and then I got the money. And then I told everybody else in the physics department, the other graduate students, and they all got it as well. And I was super surprised that nobody else had just read the email that had said that all you have to do is apply, and that's it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so then in the same vein, that of course has nothing to do with the collaboration. Yeah. Just like the email tip, that there are also emails coming from the collaboration of meetings that you should attend, but there are resources for new students that, especially as these collaborations get larger and larger, and as we've progressed, especially in the last 5 years, and made welcoming new students a much more of a priority, there are many activities specifically for new students and things that you can get involved in. And it just starts off with looking at your email or signing up for the email list for the student's email account or student committee in your experiment or collaboration. So for example, my collaboration, Atlas, has an early career scientist board, which I was really lucky and really happy to get nominated for. And so now I'm a part of that in my experiment. And yeah, thank you. And so we have an email list that students get encouraged to sign up for right away as soon as they're new students, and all. We meet with the other large collaborations at CERN. They all have similar lists. My earlier experiment, Snow Plus, also had a similar welcoming initial email list. And so if you just sign up for the email list and read events, read the emails, there's information about events, and they just start off with really simple introductory meetups. They would be in person before, and now they're all been virtual, which has actually been really great because we've realized we need to have a more hybrid version to include more people. And so then, now I say we because I'm part of the committee who's running these, but all the collaborations do have this sort of thing, just a way to welcome new members, introduce them to the collaboration, and at the same time, it's meeting other new students. So it connects you with other new students who are feeling the similar way to you, right? Also lost and not knowing what to do, like getting like, wow, CERN, wow, like I'm so excited, CERN, I wanted to go there, but wow, this is very overwhelming, right?
Yes.
And so it connects you with the other colleagues, but then also these events, I know that like our event, our main welcome event, for example, that we run 3 or 4 times a year, includes presentations and like meet and greets with the spokespeople from the experiment. So the most highest up people in management give presentations on like what is Atlas, what is CERN, what do we do, and really basic things. And the whole point is to get everybody starting out at the same level. And if you're a new student watching this presentation and you're like, oh, wow, I already know about this. Well, I learned a couple new things, but most of this I already knew. And that's a great feeling, right? That already imparts a sense of belonging when you have like the most high up people in the experiment telling you things that you already know something about, and now you're learning a little bit more, right? It just puts everybody on the same level. And it also just shows you that, okay, everybody in the experiment, from all these new students that you're meeting to the collaboration spokespeople, they're all just people who have the same goal of working on physics or working on your research and just learning more and helping each other out. And if you just read your email and see this event, then that's it, right? I mean, of course, you have to attend the event, which does take another step and another sort of reach for that comfort level, right? You got to step a little bit out of your comfort zone to do that. But I think with things going virtual, that has become the barrier for that has been lowered a little bit, because now you can just attend a Zoom meeting, for example, and have your mic muted, your video off, and that's it, right? You can just sit and watch. You can participate in the chat or not at all, and just at least see other people like yourself and see some people turning on their cameras and chatting. And then maybe for the next event, you'll feel a little bit more comfortable, and maybe you'll turn on your camera, maybe you'll interact with people over chat. And so it starts off with that. And that's just a great way to meet people. And like I said, yeah, just join the email lists for your early career researcher societies or your new student societies. And this goes the same thing for universities, right? There's often clubs for, the biology graduate students or physics graduate students or whatever. And those are all really good resources to at least join initially and see if there's something that you like there to connect to more people.
Absolutely. I've always been a huge advocate for getting involved with just smaller student groups, and whether you attend just an event or whether you get on the organizational board, like you can choose your comfort level with that. And I think what the tip about reading your emails is huge, because I used to be one who just opened all those emails and I was like, okay, that was like 2 minutes out of my life. That's too much. But once I started actually reading through them, I found workshops, I found just like random student events that really opened my eyes to like, oh, there's more going on besides just the journals that they're sending me to read type thing. Like, you really realize there's a lot of other resources out there for students, whether you're in a large or smaller collaboration.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, you did mention that, there is that comfort level. And I think a huge topic that everyone's thinking about nowadays, especially as we start going back to university, is that idea of imposter syndrome and feeling like I don't belong here. So how did you deal with it, or how are you dealing with it, being part of such a large collaboration? Feeling like, do you belong there, and getting over that feeling?
Yeah, great question. And so, yeah, I certainly felt that way, and it has improved, but I also absolutely still feel that way in many situations. And I think it starts off with making a rough plan with your supervisor and with yourself to set up your goals and almost outline the goals of like the first 6 months, first year, first 2 years even of your PhD and or graduate work, and think about where you want to go from there. And so I think ideally those conversations are not about the research that you are going to be doing. Those are very important, but it's like, where do you want to be in the collaboration or as part of the experiment at each of these steps, and what stage will you be at in your PhD at that point? And so how that worked for me is we decided right away that I would initially not do any research at all and just do all of my courses. So my first 8 months, I was still staying informed about the collaboration by reading these emails and sort of peripherally attending meetings about collaboration updates without participating in any way, just being that person with video off and mic off and just, quietly, nobody knows I'm there, but I'm just
we know there's a Ben
informed.
in the background, but
exactly. Right. Yep. And so completed all my courses, did my PhD comprehensive exams. And then we had a plan that as soon as I was done that, I was going to go to CERN and live there for well as long as possible, as long as the funding allowed for to do that initially. Which another great thing for as part of being in Canada as Atlas Canada, every PhD student gets the opportunity to go spend a full year at CERN as part of their research if they want to, and so. That not everybody, that doesn't work for everybody, right? There's various life constraints that everybody has, different for everybody. But I would say if that works for you, if you can make that work, you should really go for it and do what you can to make that work, because it's such a good way to then get more involved and attend a lot of these events in person, which it has not been possible this past year, but it will start to happen again. And again, when I was making this plan with my supervisor, we had the plan that, so I arrived at CERN basically at the beginning of June after finishing my comprehensive exams in May. And so when was this? This is like 2019 now.
Okay.
And the plan was basically the first 3-ish months, research output doesn't matter. It's just like, who cares? It's about exploring things, attending meetings in like areas that you might think you want to do research, start playing around with like the general coding structure of the experiment, but more importantly, meet the different people who you might be wanting to work with, attend these different welcome events and the new member events where they are set up to meet people, but also to learn about like the code structure of Atlas and how analyses work, how just all the different aspects of the experiment work, and just take that time to mainly focus on your comfort level, being more comfortable, right? And so that was really great for me, because I didn't feel the pressure of needing this crazy research output right away that a lot of us feel, right? We're all under this pressure to just, show results to your supervisor, to your group, get writing papers, that sort of thing. But I was really lucky to not feel that pressure right away and to just be able to use that time to improve my comfort level. And that has helped me down the road, right? And so my supervisor really understood that, and she encouraged that as well. And so I think that's really important. You definitely want to be talking about these kind of things with your supervisor to make these sort of plans, but also remember, like, for people doing the PhD, people starting, especially starting new PhDs or in the first the earlier stages of it, it's not a race, right? It's a long road. You're not getting into this to do something as fast as possible, right? And so take your time, and you are going to be much more successful 1-2 years from now if you take the initial time to really orient yourself and get more comfortable. So that was really important. Yeah, that really worked well for me. Yeah.
That's amazing. And I love that you are able to sit down with both parties at separate times and just say, hey, we need to like break down this timeline and make sure that you're acclimated to the situation, like going to a whole new country. That would be very overwhelming, that's for sure. And so I love that you were able to just take those first few months to get to know people. And, everyone has been in the same position, all those higher up students or the professors there and all the supervisors, they all know what it feels like to be coming into this collaboration that's out of this world size that where do you even start, right? So I think, finding a way to get comfortable is definitely a great tip for curbing that imposter syndrome. And on another note, to kind of like getting comfortable and getting the lay of the land, kind of, you mentioned that everyone, or like your top people that you work with, your supervisor and stuff, is currently in CERN in Switzerland, or at CERN in Switzerland. What's it like adapting to a supervisor that's in a completely different time zone? And also, did you ever feel out of the loop with the research that was going on? So those are like two separate questions, but I really specifically want to know about feeling like, is there more that's going on without me? Do I need to be more present somewhere else?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, especially in general about being a part of a larger collaboration, right? Because it is impossible to know about all the different aspects of the experiment. And you can spend all of your time attending meetings during the week, right? You could attend a meeting from starting at 7 a.m. and be on meetings till 7 p.m. if you wanted to try and learn what's going on with the experiment. Obviously, that is horrible for your mental health, and you'll never get anything done, right? You have your own work to do. You can't be doing your work during meetings. I mean, many people do and try, but it's ideally not the way to go. So yeah, there is. First of all, with my supervisor, for the first part of the question, initially, actually, when she accepted me as a PhD student, she did not have this position yet, and then she got offered the position early on in my PhD, and so she was just like really, really great about it. She basically just like sat down with me and said, I've been offered this position. It will mean that we don't get to work together on a day-to-day basis, but like you and her other students, or like, I'm your supervisor, like you are still like my priority. I still want to make sure that you succeed. So this
was
is
she involved with Atlas? Sorry to interrupt. Was she involved with Atlas already? Okay. So it wasn't like a whole new project. She just got a different position.
Right. Okay. Exactly. Yeah. She was already a member of the Atlas experiment and had many years of experience, but then she got asked to take on this role of now joining senior management due to her experience. And so basically she said that, if you think this is really going to damage your PhD, then I won't take this on, right? Because you did not know this coming in when you joined on. And I'm like, no, absolutely. Like this is awesome. This is an incredible experience for you as well, right? Mm-hmm. And it would be great for me. I understand our relationship might change a little bit because now we won't be directly working on an analysis together. But now it will make me more comfortable when I go to CERN. So there are positives and negatives, right? And so that has never been an issue. I sort of adapted to it. It was like yes, sure, I would love to be working on the exact same thing as my supervisor day to day, but I have these sort of like alternate type supervisors that I was talking about, but I mean, I wouldn't even call it that. I would, it's now they've become like colleagues, right? And that's how it sort of started. Like when I was starting research, it's basically for each different project you do, you have a more senior, more experienced person or group of people helping you out and bringing you along to get you up to speed. Because people understand, like, you can't possibly know how to operate an Atlas analysis or be part of the team when you're brand new, right? It's just like any experiment. It doesn't matter the size. There's a certain training period that's necessary. I mean, and the training period never ends. You're always constantly learning and improving.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so, so that's totally fine. And it's never been an issue because my supervisor is completely aware of the time zone difference now. And so, I mean, we book meetings. Like I feel bad that our weekly meetings are scheduled for like 12:30, which is like,
oh shoot, Ben, I'm so sorry. I accidentally muted.
Yeah, no worries.
My
It
finger
popped up,
slipped
all
there.
good. No worries, no problem. I can stop talking if you want me to. Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Go on.
So, sometimes it needs to be muted. I can just run on forever. So I feel bad because our meetings are scheduled for like 6:30 p.m. her time, and and during the meetings, I'm like, okay, we can stop talking. Like we're just chatting about going for runs or the weather, and you gotta go home and have dinner. Like you don't have to keep talking now, right? So that's never been a problem. It's been fantastic. But again, I'm just really lucky to have such a good relationship.
Totally.
And
that's awesome.
Yeah, and with the group meetings themselves, first of all, when you're a part of an international collaboration, you have to have some home base, like, of the experiment where people will generally meet. And so that is CERN for the Atlas experiment, because that is where it is. When I worked on Snow Plus, that was Sudbury, where Snow Plus was, because that is where it was, right? But everybody also understands and enjoys the fact, like, it is purely a benefit that we have collaborators all around the world, right? That only makes the experiment better, that everybody is coming from different backgrounds, different ways of learning how to do the research. Everybody was brought up in school differently. It just improves the experiment. And so, it makes sometimes things like arranging meetings a little bit more difficult. But everybody knows that this is just part of how things work when you're in an international collaboration. And so then at the same time, sometimes people get very set into having meetings at the time that they have. And so then maybe there are new group members that now join, and now, let's say, actually, this is exactly the case, that my core group analysis meeting was at 10 in the morning CERN time. Now I moved here back to Canada, and so now it's 4 in the morning. Well, I'm not going to attend that. And I told them that, and obviously they understood. And I'm just the only person in that part of the group now that happens to live in this area of the world. And so, but I just let them know that. And so nobody is ever pressuring me to attend those meetings. And so I can just not attend. However, that's not ideal, because I still want to stay informed. And so I certainly felt like that initially coming back here after being in at CERN where I lived. I lived in France, actually, right on the border of Switzerland. But my local group meetings, and so I have like a local analysis, which is a team of, or it has been a team of 4 people, including me, which is me, who is now here in Ottawa in Canada, one woman who is located at CERN, another woman who is in Germany, and a man who is in China. And so the 4 of us have to arrange meetings, right? So, and the European people are lucky because they're right in the middle of the time zones.
Yeah.
China, where my colleague is located, is 12 hours ahead, right? So it's always us, like, okay, it's like, how early am I willing to go versus how late is he willing to go in the evening, or vice versa, right? so we make that work. And so then if I initially, when we had our reschedule or these meetings that were in the middle of the night for me, I would give my little updates to them and then send them my presentations, and then they would give them on my behalf during the meetings. And so we basically, just so that I would still be informed, we arranged our own meetings that was a smaller group to just basically just to be able to update me and keep me in the loop, which was fantastic, right? Because our analysis group meeting is a group meeting of about 30 people, and they happen to almost entirely be based in Europe, with a few people in China as well. And so I was the outlier. And so you have to adapt to have the majority of people convenienced, but at the same time, nobody should be excluded. And so we found ways to make sure that I was still involved in the meetings, right? At the same time, I would have liked to still be a part. And so now what I've been doing is emailing the groups. And if there is something like really important, really timely coming up, especially an aspect that I'm heavily involved in, we'll just change the entire meeting so that the people who are most important to be there, like it is their direct thing that they need to present an update on, can be there. So like we just had a meeting last week, for example, that was rescheduled from 4 in the morning to 9 in the morning, just so that I could give an update and talk about what's going on, right? And so and so now we've realized, okay, actually, let's just rethink the whole group meeting. Maybe it's just time to reschedule the whole thing. And so now we've had a whole doodle poll to reschedule when the entire meeting is going to be. And so the point is, everybody understands, you just have to let them know where you are, and then people will work to make sure everybody is included.
Yeah, perfect. So to wrap that all up, what I hear you saying is kind of this willingness to adapt. To be able to find your voice, you have to be willing to adapt. You have to be willing to accept also the consequences to being part of a large collaboration, because clearly waking up at 4 in the morning is not easy, and like no one wants to do that all the time. So
and you shouldn't feel pressured,
and you should not feel
right?
pressured. Yes, exactly. So do you have any kind of closing remarks then to finding your voice in a large collaboration, and any tips for maybe new people moving into a new role in a large collaboration, or people considering if they want to be part of something larger that are maybe on the edge too?
Yeah, I would say that you really have to think about your comfort level, what you're willing to do, and then try and push that a little bit to take advantage of the benefits that come along with being part of a larger collaboration. So really focus on, well, taking the opportunity that you can to meet new people, to meet the other new people, right? You get to build a community of other new people. Yeah. So make sure that you are okay with building your comfort level up first, right? Remove that pressure of getting your research done. I've met so many people that like, no, I can't attend these new person events because I've got so much pressure to do this research and to get up to date right away. And I'm like, okay, well, why, right? Maybe you try having a conversation with your supervisor about that. Some people are in an unfortunate, unavoidable situation there, but I mean, maybe that's more things to reconsider. That's not necessarily the best mental health route for you. But get that initial level of comfort and join these events to meet other people. And you just, it opens up the opportunity to have so many different smaller groups and also feel part of this larger thing where everybody's working together to work on the experiment and to learn about the world.
Perfect. Well, that is some really great advice, Ben, and it's been really awesome having you on the PhD Balance Grad Chat on finding your voice and what it's like to be in a large collaboration. So just to wrap it up here, if you liked what you're watching, if you like what you're hearing, be sure to subscribe to the PhD Balance YouTube channel. Again, also Grad Chat PhD Balance on Spotify, podcasts, networks everywhere. Also, make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at PhD_balance to get more information on mental health and community in grad school. So Ben,